Hello world, and welcome to Elevated Intuition. Today we are doing a picket card reading for the energy of your next week. I upload these videos every week, but this is a timeless reading, meaning that it applies to you whenever you discover it. So this is for the next 5 to 7 days, and this is the part where you get to engage your intuition and pick the card pile number, or I will be putting crystals on here in a little bit, that resonates with you. The timestamps are down below in the description, and then you go there, and that's where I engage my intuition to read the cards for you. So here we are with pile number 1, 2, and 3. And if you, again, at any time, you can, when something calls to you, you can go down there and I'll meet you there. Otherwise, I'm going to be putting crystals on the piles right now. So for pile number 1, I have this one. This is Desert Rose. And I picked crystals this week that had different textures and shapes. So for pile number 2, this is a Chevron, Amethyst, and then it's a point, so it can stand like this, but for you to see it better, I'll put it like that. And then for pile number 3, this one, which has an interesting texture as well, is Aragonite. I'll just show you the 3D effect of it with that there. So if you're still having problems deciding, well, first of all, you can listen to more than one, or you can listen to all of them and then take which resonates. I have listened to I love picket card reading, so I listen to a lot of them, and sometimes I'm not drawn to one over the other, and I listen to all of it and I'm like, okay, that message is for me, that one's for me, and that one's for me. But if you want to choose one, and you want something to call to you, we can do an exercise right now. If you close your eyes with me, and we're going to take a deep breath in and release. It's really important to take deep breaths. It's just helps with grounding. We're releasing negative energy. We're just here in the moment. This is where we want to be. These are the messages that we need to hear. Now go ahead and open your eyes, and wherever your eyes go, that's the pile for you. And I will see you at your reading. Hello, group number 1. If you picked the Desert Rose, or you just liked the number 1, or you just like the way that the cards looked, this is your reading. So I'm going to go ahead and move those guys over there. And I'm really excited because I'm working with a new deck today. And we'll get to that in a moment. But the first card, I always pull an overall energy for your week, and then we will get into some tarot cards, is 9, Allowance. The frequency of allowance invites us to be open to whatever comes our way, without judgment, without opinion, without fear, and without resistance. When we allow, the universe becomes our partner in the wondrous dance of existence and expansion. So I love allowance. You know, sometimes we don't want to allow things because we feel like there's going to be some unwanted truths out there, and sometimes there are. But, you know, it's better to get that stuff behind us. It's better to get it out of the way, so that it doesn't harm us or hurt us anymore. And when we're in a mode of resistance, you know, sometimes just putting that off what I would call like inevitable is worse than going through it. And this even kind of has a butterfly in here. This like kind of like a little head, and like a wing coming out there, so very good abstract butterfly. But allowance transforms us. It takes us from one place to another. And a lot of times it's our ego that holds us back, because our ego likes to keep us steady, and it likes to keep us even keel. And that's all in good. That's fantastic. But a lot of times our mind or our intuition or our wantings or our longings or what we want to manifest is we're asking the universe to take us, to transform us, to move us someplace different. And it can't do that unless we allow it. It also kind of reminds me of, if you have spirit guides, which you do, but maybe you don't believe that, and that's okay. Guardian angels, which you do, and usually more people are more open to that. Ancestors who look over you. If you need help, you need to ask and allow it. A lot of times we'll be sitting here like, why can't you help me? Why can't you help me? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. We're in a tough position. And a lot of times it's just because we don't allow ourselves to be open to it. So it is a conscious decision to be open and to allow. And there's multiple layers of existence, this allowance, and there's multiple layers in this image. So that's why I'm thinking about that. There's a box here, yes, and a lot of times we're happy in our little box. But this is talking about moving out of the box. It's moving up in the box. It's moving down in the box. It's moving all around in our box, and maybe even moving out of it. But to do that, we need to allow it. So then I have these. I know they don't look like much because I need a white background for it. So usually I pull 4 cards. These are transparent tarot cards, and there are 4 cards here, even though I am just layering up 2 on each side. This helps give us a better depth of meaning, and we're going to come back to this allowance and what we're allowing, what we're not allowing, what we should be allowing, what's going to help us allow. So over here, I'll tell you what the cards are. We've got, this is the 8 of Swords, and this is the 10 of Cups. And then over here, we've got the 6 of Cups, and this is the Queen of Cups. So lots of Cups energy. And if you're wondering how the heck can I understand that, it's actually pretty easy, because there's a cup here, a sword here, an 8 here, and a 10 here. So I know what they are. And then we have a 6 here, a cup here, and a Q here. So this one is kind of flipped a little bit. So I love these cards. I'm so excited to be working with them, because it's going to help us give us some more depth of meaning. And I was talking with allowance. Sometimes we have to allow, and it's not even just us moving out. It's other things moving in. So in the 8 of Swords, it talks about us kind of being in a cage. But it's mental cage. This is our box, right? This is our box that we're not thinking outside of. This is our box that we're comfortable with and where we're happy in, or maybe things aren't the best there, but we're at least used to it, okay? And I'm thinking that they're not the best there just because it is the 8 of Swords, which can talk about a cage of fear and negativity. We have our negative thoughts. When you see in this image here that she is trapped by all of these swords around her, and then her hands are behind her. We don't have a lot of definition here in this particular card, but most 8 of Swords cards show her blindfolded, so she's not seeing what's going on around her, and then her hands are tied together. But usually when her hands are tied together, she's still the one holding the ropes, meaning she can just drop it at any time. And I said something about, this is not allowance here. We are stuck. This is stuck energy. This is being in our train of thought that we've been in for a long time. We are not transitioning, even though we should. But this transition that we should take to get from this 8 of Swords to this 10 of Cups energy it might be a little difficult. There might be some growing pains here. But it's gonna be usually something that is in your mind, in your thought, in what's going on with your thoughts. And it's probably something about like even more so getting a hold of those thoughts and those ideas. Now, swords, it's double-edged sword, right? So we have a blade that's in here facing us and a blade that's facing out. I mentioned something about allowance when I was talking about spirit guides or guardian angels. And this can even be guardian angels that we're talking about who are around us. It can be our neighbor. It can be our friends. It can be a family member. When we are cut off here, we aren't allowing this flow, like in the 6 of Cups here, there's a flow of energy from one person to another, and you aren't allowing your flow of energy to other people either. The 10 of Cups, though, is like the conclusion of this. When you do bring in allowance, when you do, instead of sitting in that cage of fear and negative thoughts, you kind of, I wanted to say divorce yourself, but you remove yourself, you see it from a higher perspective. I think of this a lot, like I'm having these thoughts and they're negative thoughts. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. And then I start questioning them. Where is this coming from? Why do I even think this? This is not who I want to be. And I pull myself out of that negativity and become an observer of it. Why am I thinking this? Why am I holding myself away from the people I love here in this 10 of Cups? Like, were they trying to hurt me, or did I intentionally pull away? Like, maybe there was some sort of hurt and it has just snowballed. It's gotten bigger. And maybe there was a hurt and it was really unintentional. And when you become the observer of your thoughts and you start asking questions about the way you feel, and you start asking questions about these negative thoughts, then you start to uncover and pull that string and release yourself. You know, pick up these swords, remove them, remove those thoughts. And I love the 10 of Cups here because 10 is a completion number. It's meaning, it's 9 is really the completion. 10 is like the conclusion, that once you do remove yourself there, you're able to then go on and make some really meaningful and fulfilling connections with other people. And what a glow up do we have from like even just all of these figures to this Queen of Cups here, who then like comes out in all colors and has like control. She's the one holding the cup. Here, other people might be helping you pick you up and getting out of this, we'll call it a funk. And it's even in this 10 of Cups, and it's even over here in the 6 of Cups, kind of repeated. There might even be a younger person who helps you out in that regard, meaning that, you know, just pay attention to what children say, or even what they do. They're like lovely little creatures sometimes, and they just have like a way of uplifting you. Over here in this is 6 of Cups. 6 of Cups talks about, 6 is a number where we are returning to balance. So things are out of balance here in this 8 of Swords energy. We need to bring balance in. We have 3 Cups cards here. This is emotional fulfillment. So this week of allowance is really kind of self-care. the Queen of Cups would take care of herself. So what do you need this week? How can you find emotional balance and fulfillment? Because that's what the Queen of Cups is all about. And then because she is emotionally balanced, she is fulfilled, this is coming from within, she is allowing herself to be happy. She can turn around and really hand cups to others. It's really kind of like, this is, you know, sometimes the child's handing you a cup, sometimes you're handing the child a cup. It's a very reciprocal relationship. Okay, so let's see what we have for further advice. We've got order, conformity, rigidity, and disarray. Okay, and we've got weight. All right, so equilibrium, I'm just like, how does this, an instability, how does this come in, weight and equal and order? So weight is how, you know, it's got a whale on here, and this is the oh, and it also has an ant. Oh, that's cute. An ant has a dumbbell and is lifting much more than its body weight. And then a whale, even though it's really humongous, it's the largest mammal on Earth currently, they can be pretty nimble. They move around. So weight can talk about how you're managing and you know, a sense of gravity, managing your weight, moving around, being nimble. That I think it relates kind of back here to this Eight of Swords energy, where you know, some of these thoughts are actually weightless, but they're holding us down. So it can talk about like, and the Queen over here, she looks kind of nimble too in her movement. She actually seems like she's kind of moving. So it's managing your weight, not literally. If you want to take it as that, but I don't see any Pentacles cards, and Pentacles would talk about health. But managing the weight of situations and giving things the proper weight and value as well, because sometimes we give way more thought and weight to negative things than we should. So I feel like that is talking about that right here. And also we have the scales, so I talked about having emotional balance. I think that's really important for you. And then conformity and order, and on this we have snakes. And the scales of snakes are they're all in order, they're all aligned, they're all like help things function. So if you're feeling dysfunctional, if you're feeling like things aren't flowing, you might want to actually physically put some things in order. If your desk isn't in order, if you're having a hard time finding things, that might be a good thing for you to do this week. Like this, the negative of this is disarray. Well, if you don't know where to start with your mind, it kind of reminds me of it was some sort of valedictorian speech where a very successful person, I almost think it's a military thing, and it was like an admiral talking to like the Navy, and he was giving advice, and his advice was to make your bed every day. It is because you just accomplish something right away, and you put order to something right away. And as you start putting order to things, other things start falling in line. So that is what I have for you, group 1. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope you let me know if you like these transparent cards. This is the first time I've used them on the channel. I did an unboxing, so I would like to know if you like them, and let me know how you feel about the reading. Thank you so much. Hello, group 2. If you picked this lovely amethyst, or the number 2, or you just like the way the cards looked, you are in the right place. So the first card I pulled for you represents the overall energy of the week, and this is perception 35. The frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive as real and to take a good, hard, deep look at it. Perception so much colors our reality. This reminds me of a vibe mindset video that I just watched. I will post it down below if you're interested in what he's a doctor. His Dr. Kavanaugh has to say about perception. He has a cute, I don't know if you would call it cute, pie, perception, imagination, and something else. I hope he doesn't have a test. I would flunk it. I did watch his video though. So the other interesting thing about perception is that there was an astrophysicist, I think, John Wheeler, and he had this really interesting thing, and he proved it mathematically, that something doesn't exist unless the observer is there. So what it reminded me, that is the perceive as real part, because your perception and what you see and feel and touch and taste and experience is so important, and that is the most important thing to your reality. I also have a feeling that I need to tell you that sometimes other people try to manipulate our perception by telling us things are real and things are not real. You need to go with your perception and what you see and feel, and that because when people are trying to manipulate us into their reality, that's not always the best. This should be about you and your reality. And honestly, I know that it's kind of a Oprah talks about your truth, and then I think it's Ben Shapiro who would say that there is no your truth, there's just the truth. Well, on certain logical facts, sure, but we all, again, perceive the world differently. And like John Wheeler said, the observer is like the most important part of that equation. So it's what you observe, what you perceive as real, to be real, and that's what is important. I want to also talk about emotions. This doesn't really talk about that, but a lot of times when we don't know what to think, we usually feel a certain way about something, and the way we feel can help be a guidance. Don't overreact on our feelings, because I think, especially if somebody is manipulating you and it makes you feel uncomfortable or angry, I mean, that should tell you something right there. Let's move on to our tarot cards, and I'm pulling these white out because our cards this week are transparent. And I need the white background so we can see them. So this is interesting. These all came out together. I went with the intent of pulling 2 and 2, but these 3 came out together, and I thought that was important. So I'll tell you what you have. You have this is the 9 of Cups. There's a 9 and Cups there, which is the Wish card. This is just 9. This mountain that I'm layering over this is the Hermit. And this is the Three of Swords. So these cards are so interesting because I can flip them or they can flip themselves. And again, this is how it came out, so it's important this way, and I will read it that way. And then over here, we've got the Four of Swords, which is this guy down here. And we've got the Ten of Pentacles, which are these people here. So very, very interesting, because I think perception is really important, especially over here where we've got the Hermit layered with the Nine of Cups and the Three of Swords. And the Hermit talks about you. It talks about solitude. It talks about introspection, wisdom. And I love that this deck has the Hermit as a mountain. There's rays coming off the top of the mountain up there, because that is kind of like, I'm saying Holy Grail. That is like the destination. But the journey is equally as important. That is where we learn things. That's where we have trials. That's where we have tribulations. That's where we have victories. And I think that the Three of Swords here and the Nine of Cups kind of represent that. The kind of the ebbs and flows. Now, and it's really interesting as well, because I almost see these as kind of like a little angel and a little devil on your shoulder. If you've ever seen like those cartoons or that representation, or those kinds of the wild and untamed, and then the tame things tell, you know, the little things whispering in your ears. It is really easy to listen to negative energy over positive, which is why I think that that's why this top card is the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords is, you know, this person here on their knees, and there's two swords coming here into his back. And then we've got the one sword that he himself is holding, because it's really important to understand that when we are harmed, when we are hurt, that there is a certain level of responsibility for ourselves to take in the situation. Either, you know, sometimes somebody does just harm us, right? For no reason. But if we carry that with us, and if we don't let that go, if we don't shed that, we are continually stabbing ourselves, because we're living it over and over again instead of getting past it. So yes, I get there are times where you have been perfectly lovely person and you did not deserve something bad happening to you. There are also times though where you could see the possibility of it and you've ignored some signs. It doesn't matter. All of those trials help us on this journey to become a better, stronger person, learning all of these goals. Still, things hurt. Now, Nine of Cups, I'm just going to remove this one. This is the wish card. This is you getting everything that you wished for. I think it's interesting that we have the Three of Swords and the Nine of Cups together, because sometimes when we get everything that we wish for, it's not exactly what we expect and it hurts us. And then there are sometimes we get hurt and harmed, but through that process, we become, you know, just really a stronger, better, smarter, more interesting person, and it helps us get everything we wish for. So that's why I find it so interesting that these cards came out together. Now for you, what does that mean about you? I think a lot of it is perception. Like I was saying with the Three of Swords, where they are down on their knees, like somebody wrongs you and you keep reliving that in your mind over and over again. And it can even be just a small thing. Somebody cut you off in traffic. You don't need to carry that with you the rest of the day. You can let that go. That's actually baggage that holds you back if you keep carrying that with you. And a lot of times when somebody wrongs us, there's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes that thought comes in. It has everything to do with them. somebody cut you off in traffic, I guarantee you it's not personal. It is something that they are thinking they didn't see you. They're really busy. They had no other option, they felt. They're a bad driver. That has nothing to do with you. So why dwell on that the rest of the day? Okay? But that, then, when you put it in proper perception, when you perceive it the right way, then you're able to let it go and really just continue on with your journey to this wish card that you need. Now over here, we've got the Four of Swords, which I think is so related to this Hermit. It's kind of like, if you don't know how to get out of this energy of the Three of Swords, right? If you're not sure how you can get to this Nine of Cups energy, Four of Swords. And Four of Swords is the progression from Three of Swords. I mean, the chronological order there. But I know you're like, yes, I needed you to tell me that. But Four of Swords is taking a meditative break. It's letting things go. Look, these swords are pointed out. They're not pointed at you anymore. You are pushing that negative energy that was put on you or you put on yourself. You're pushing it back to where it belongs. You don't need it anymore. It doesn't need to harm you. And this is quieting your mind, maybe. Definitely meditation. Well, that is quieting your mind, right? But letting those negative things go and maybe taking a rest. This week could be a good time for you to just rest, contemplate things, contemplate some negative feelings and let it go. And that's what's going to help us get to this Ten of Pentacles. I love the Ten of Pentacles here because it's kind of like, hey, you did a lot of work here. Great, good job. You did a lot of work on yourself. Now 10 is a conclusion number, I will say. You are like looking back at this journey and how far you've come, and then you're able to pass that wisdom on to other people, maybe. Because 10 of Pentacles is about generational wealth. It is about, yes, you've gone through all of these trials and tribulations. It wasn't easy. It's not going to be, and that's okay. But really appreciating where you were and where you are now. And when you are in this energy over here, understanding that doing this hard work, doing this journey, doing this meditation, looking inside, this introspection, and flipping your perception, it is worth it. That there is a goal in mind and there is a place for you. So let's see what we have. Number 34, tune, resonance, dissonance, quietude. Very interesting. So we've got some birds, we've got an instrument. I think these are special birds because like this bird is it's a bird that gets its name from this musical instrument because it looks like it. I think a lyra bird. And then this is a lark. And larks sing while flying, which is something that not all birds do. Most of them will sing when they're stopped. I've also seen them like screech in distress while they're flying. Other birds, not larks. So tune is just kind of like getting in tune, maybe music can be important for you this week. That might help you with your meditation. That might help you to get out of your bad mood and get into that wish card mentality. So I like that here. And then also, like I said, this bird sings while he flies. So, maybe you need to belt out a tune as well. And then we've got sublimity with jellyfish, resplendence, imperfection, superiority. Okay. So, you know, jellyfish are really cool and interesting creatures. There is an entire room of jellyfish in the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and it was beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. And they're not exactly in tune with each other, but it's because they're, you know, moving at different paces, but it's still, there's a harmony to it. There's a beauty to it. Jellyfish talk with flowing with nature and going with the flow, because they're not intelligent enough to know where they need to be when they need to be there. They're just going along with the current and just being in harmony. So the advice for you is to, and both of these kind of like tune and flow and melody comes to mind. So music, maybe dancing, moving your body, but in a carefree and flowing way. It is definitely letting go of this Three of Swords and embracing the beauty around you, embracing the harmony around you, and seeing things not only with your eyes, but your ears and probably your senses. I don't think jellyfish have eyes. I think they just feel their way around the world. And it's not suggested, but it's possible. I mean, that they have existed longer than Homo sapiens have, so there's something to be said about that. There's also in the flow and letting go, like they just, you know, they're not stuck on any one thing, any one concept. They're not fighting, they're just going with it. So that is what I have for you, group 2. I wish you a lovely week. Please let me know what you think of these transparent tarot cards and how you like them. And I will see you in the next reading. Thank you. Hello, group 3. If you picked the Aragonite, you are in the right place. So you picked number 3, or just like the way the cards look. Welcome. So I pull a card which is intended to be the energy of your next week, and you get 31 magic. The frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move towards possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as you can imagine. All that is required is our belief in their manifestation. Okay, that looks great. So whatever you are planning for the next week, like it looks like a really good possibility that you're going to be able to imagine it and complete it and get it done. I want to talk about magic for a moment as it relates to, you know, a lot of people, you know, don't believe in magic, and that's okay. You don't have to. Because this reminds me of a video I watched recently of a physicist in string theory. But he quoted an author, and it was something like, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from divinity. And his point was, he was talking about, like, think about what our like great grandparents, their technology was of like the 1900s, like the turn of the century 1900s, and that they were dirt farmers. And they could not even think about calling somebody long distance. and I'm paraphrasing him right now. Professor Kaku, if you want to look him up, that he said, you know, their idea of calling long distance was yelling at their neighbor. And then to think about where our ancestors will be and the technology that they will be using in 2100. That to us, what they will be doing that is just like a day-to-day normal thing will seem like magic to us. So if we don't understand, or if we haven't seen the full evolution of like these technologies, that it could be just feel like magic. Let's plop somebody of our time using our technology down in ancient Greece, and they would think that we were a god or goddess. But for you, like maybe that is, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I just want you to understand that there are so many things that are out there that are possible for you. So don't let thinking that it's not possible stand in your way. Technology can advance, or you can find these technological advances. Like if you dream it, you can be it, you can do it. This can also talk about transformation, like your own transformation of your body, for instance. 9 months, 10 months, it's 9.5 really, to create a baby. And you think about all of the transitions that your body, or my body, maybe some of your bodies don't go through to do that. So what you think is possible, like maybe you do want to lose some weight. Well, look at what someone can accomplish in 9 months. So don't let this idea, it also reminds me of the Olympics. There was a guy that I was talking to who was really excited about weightlifting after watching the Olympics. But you cannot compare yourself to like that super high level of weightlifter, even if that's where you want to be. Like in the future, there is a version of you that is capable and able to do everything that you wish to do, that you want to set in motion right now. But it's going to take like incremental times. The first step though is wanting to do it, believing that you can, and start walking down that path. Don't let the fact that you can't do it right now stop you. Like invoke your magic. You have this magic inside of you, and most of the magic is really just the belief that you can do it and you can accomplish it. So let's get out our tarot cards, and I'm pulling out these white cards because our tarot cards are transparent and I need a white background so we can read them. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so I'll tell you what we have. We've got number 5, the Hierophant. That's the tree. Then we've got the 6 of Swords, which is this boat with swords. And then over here, we've got the Ace of Wands, and we've got the 2 of Wands. So to kind of get the elephant out of the room with this Ace of Wands, which very much looks like a phallic symbol and is exploding. I've looked at my demographics. We are all adults here. So this kind of feels like, and I'm going to read it a different way too, but if this is a relationship kind of thing for you, the Hierophant would be like a marriage or a typical relationship, and you're moving on from that with the 6 of Swords. And maybe you never thought that you could feel this way about another person again, or you are just needing, you've been in this healing process of getting over a relationship over here. And this week looks like, yeah, getting over it. You have a newfound passion, and feels like another person is coming in here for you. So that is like right off the bat, one message of the cards relationship wise. Let's dig into it a little bit deeper though, another meaning, because we've got the Hierophant and we've got the Six of Swords. So let's talk about this Hierophant. The Hierophant is usually like a papal figure, a pope, and then he's got two people listening to what he's saying. So a lot of times that can have negative connotations about you know, how you feel about religion or the Pope in particular, or things like that. But the root cause or the root meaning of the Hierophant is a wise counsel. This is a structure. This is bringing the spiritual down to earth. So that's why we have this strong oak tree here. And then we've got the Six of Swords over that. So I feel like you have a really strong foundation in something. You've had somebody who has been a teacher or counselor, or you have been following on social media and learning things from them. But now it's, you have decided that you're going to kind of break away from that. That's this Six of Swords. That's this boat moving away. And it is I almost feel like it's a leveling up, because this boat isn't like down here. Like, you no longer need, you might need them. You might need to tap into those ideas again, but you no longer need to be their student. You're coming up to another level, and that's why it's time for you to branch off or move away from this counselor. And it's a very good thing for you. And I love that the magic in here, because you have been given enough information, enough foundation, that you are now coming up with your own ideas, and your own ideas are just raw and pure, and they're exploding, and you have a lot of passion about this. The Two of Wands is interesting in this deck, because it normally doesn't look like this. It's normally just one person with a globe in his hand, and he's surveying the landscape and coming up with some plans and some ideas. Okay, but in here, and I love this with the Hierophant over here, because you've got two figures who are very much on the same level. They're equals. They're meeting each other at the same place of power, place of position. There's not one person that is positioned as the professor. There's not one person who is the student. It's a exchange of ideas. Now, in this position, it almost looks like they are combative, but they could just be showing each other their ideas. And when I was talking about the interpretation of the relationship earlier, this, if you are meeting a new person, this is somebody who excites you and you're excited to be with, because they are your equal. They're not below you. They don't think they're above you. You guys have a very interesting exchange of ideas. But in the terms of the Hierophant over here, who has been your wise counsel, and you have leveled up, now you're going off and putting out your own magic into the world. I love that. So then we've got language, articulation, silence, and affection. Okay, I didn't see affection coming. I think that's interesting with the one interpretation that I had. It's also interesting that we've got a parrot. That's not outlandish for language, because parrots learn to speak and they can speak to us, and they can speak intelligently to us too. But we also have a telephone, and we also have like these two vines that almost kind of, that they're connected, but it almost kind of reminds me of a telephone line, that there's information maybe going in between them. And then we have imitation, immolation, mimicry, and mockery. So that's interesting. I'm going to go back to language here for a second, and then I have another idea on imitation. But coming back to language, because this reminds me of it's called The Fantastic Fungi. It is a documentary that I was watching about mushrooms and fungus and magic mushrooms. So I think that it's important to mention here that it might resonate with some people. Language, our speech. One thing that they talked about in that documentary about how speech and language developed was possibly, you know, from our primate selves to the very articulate people, Homo sapiens, that we are now, is they talk about synesthesia. Synesthesia means senses together, and it talks about our sense, you know, our senses, our sight, hearing, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, those senses. And synesthesia is when senses get crossed. And there are people, and I think you have experienced synesthesia at one point too, but they were talking about like, how did a bunch of primates develop language? And they floated the idea that it had to do with magic mushrooms, that we have psychedelic, and sometimes that happens and synesthesia happens, and that means like you see music. It's crossing of those senses. You really should be hearing music, but you see it. And it's really interesting how they talk about that language. But so don't take it for granted, because there are a lot of theories out there on how I can be where I am right now, saying the things that I'm saying. You don't even see me, and you have visions in your mind based off of the sounds I'm making. That is pretty spectacular. And since our ancestors were able to magically make that happen, you can use it for yourself and advocate for yourself and articulate your ideas. Don't take yourself for granted. You're pretty magical. And then let's come back here to imitation, because I had an idea about this that's really interesting. It kind of goes with this Hierophant and this Six of Swords, because why wouldn't we just be happy listening to this teacher forever, right? They're them telling us, and especially imitation. What is that? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But it's time for you to get your own ideas, which is over here. It's time for you to blast off yourself. It's time for you to have your own ideas, and to take this foundation and take what this teacher has brought to you and put it into practice for yourself. And there's another saying about, is it better to fail in originality or succeed in imitation? And you, my dear, are going to succeed in originality. You're going to succeed in your own ideas, because you have this magic behind you. Oh, and I also wanted to mention one more thing, because we've got the Ace of Wands and we've got the Two of Wands. So aces are just so great. They're so powerful. It's the raw energy of this wand suit, of this fire energy, the passion, right? Something that you're getting super excited about. But in and of itself, it doesn't necessarily go anywhere. I think it's really powerful that we also got the Two of Wands, because that shows that you are actually taking that passion and moving with it. You're doing something with it. And that is a sign of your magic and success working out for you, group 3. So that's what I have. I hope you like this reading. Please give me a like if you did. And let me know what you think of these transparent cards. Thank you, and I will see you in the next reading.